języku będzie właśnie prezentował. Our third presentation is going to be given by Michał Talaga, a man who probably never made a serious presentation in his life. Last time I heard his speech, it was about polygamy and how wonderful it is.
For women.
For women. Surprise, surprise. Today, Michał is going to tell you about TypeScript. He's been working with this. He was raised in Microsoft community. Look at his laptop, it tells everything. Are you plugged in and ready or not yet?
Yeah,
we can start. Okay, so without further ado, let me introduce to you Michał Talaga.
Hi. Who of you is using any kind of statically typed language? 4 people. Who has been using such a language before? Okay, so you understand the concept. Today I will tell you something about TypeScript. Why do we need TypeScript? Who had any contact with TypeScript before today? Okay, few people. Why do we need it? When I started programming, that was 15 years ago, an average tool or program, you could write a program that worked and it had 1,000 lines of code, 10,000. Today, I work with software that has at least 100,000 and sometimes few million lines of code. And before, we could build a hut with simple tools. Now we build skyscrapers and we need more sophisticated tools. And this is where TypeScript comes in. What it is? Basically it's JavaScript on steroids. And when you combine those, you get something that you can actually use to perform the tasks that need heavy lifting. I will show you some real code, and then after my presentation you can chat with me at the after party if there is one. Now I was not able, I suppose that's because of my Windows laptop, to get duplicate screen. So I will need to first look behind my back and then code with one hand because I have a mic. So
I can assist you.
no, I can handle it. So when you look at this code, this looks pretty much like normal JavaScript. So in a normal JavaScript, you create a function to sort an array. The guy that presented the JavaScript how do you call this? Issues with JavaScript, he said that now you have isArray check, and that would be useful here because you have no idea what you pass here as an argument. And to sort this, we assume there is a name property that has some local compare method and that it returns an array. But nothing in JavaScript stops us from invoking this function like this, passing a number. And this, of course, is not what's our intention. So in TypeScript, we can do some type annotations. This is completely optional. You don't need to do it, but you can. And you can make sure that no one passes a number in here. And to do this, you just type any. And now we know that the only parameters that this function accepts is an array. So this is no longer okay. And you can see it right there. Number is not an assignable parameter. So you can remove this. Notice that at the same time, this output, the JavaScript, never changes. This is completely the same. Now, there's one problem here because we are trying to compare the names of those objects we get in here, and we are passing numbers, so this will not work. So what we can do better is we can create an interface. Interface, it's called person. And this represents a structure, a data structure that just has a name. And we can tell this function, okay, I only allow something that has a name or that looks like a person. And immediately I know this works. So I get the statement completion, and suddenly I also know that there's a typo in this one because we know it's a string. So we can fix that. This, of course, no longer compiles because this is not something that looks like a person. So I created an array of objects that have name and age, and I can safely pass this to my sort by name, and this works. So you have static type checking. And notice that when I return the sorted array, it is also of type person. So I can do sorted element number 0, and I have the name here. But this is not enough because we are passing something that has a name and the age is missing here. So we can improve on this by introducing generics, which is also something taken from C#. So instead of requiring a person, we can require anything. The T is, by convention, you can name it anything you want, as long as you repeat it here. Now if I scroll down, I'm not sure if this version of TypeScript will pick it up, but now I can see both the properties. If I mess around with this, this should no longer compile. Unfortunately, it does, and that's because I'm no longer requiring a person. But we can fix that. And we can say that pass anything that extends a person. So at least it has to have a name, but it can have more. So now if I scroll down, this complains because we broke it. Now we get it working again. So those are some basic concepts you have in TypeScript. You don't need to use it, but you can, and it helps you a lot because you get your errors at compile time or at design time, not at runtime. You save a lot of time. But since this is an Angular meeting, I will show you how you can use it in an Angular project. Note that I'm not an expert in Angular. But suppose we have a controller like this. I'm not even sure if this is the type of code you would write in Angular, but you pass in the scope, HTTP, location, and some service someone created. If you just type $HTTP dot, and I get nothing by default because Visual Studio doesn't know what this thing is or this thing is. And there are some tools that can help you with it by estimating, but they will never be perfect. So in Angular, well, in TypeScript, what you can do is you can just comment this out. And we can provide the types of each of those services, including our own service. Service. And now if you have someone new coming to the project and he sees the game service, he will simply know what methods are available, what parameters are required for the given method, and what types of parameters are expected. And this works also for those built-in Angular services, so you get all the goodness you can expect. So you can call get, and you can provide a callback. So this is all built in thanks to annotations. And you may wonder, how do we know all of those for Angular? So there is a rich community that created type annotation. So if I go to definition for this one, you'll see all the services have been annotated by someone, so you no longer need to look in documentation somewhere on the internet because you have everything built in the editor. And I understand not every one of you was enlightened enough to buy Windows and you are working on Mac. And Microsoft, from the goodness of their hearts, they created Visual Studio Code, which you can run on Linux or on Apple, on basically any operating system. This is using GitHub Atom editor, and it has all the same features for TypeScript as you would expect from any decent editor. So you can also sort by name. You get the code completion, and this is a smart code completion. So besides using Visual Studio, you can use it in Sublime. I checked it. You can use it in Eclipse if someone is Java oriented. You can use it in Atom, you can use it in WebStorm, you can use it in Visual Studio, and many more plugins are coming your way. But the main reason for any Angular developer to use TypeScript would be that Angular 2 is now written in TypeScript, which will make your lives much easier. Questions? Thank you.
When it comes to talks, it's everything we prepared for this meetup. But let me just tell you what's going to happen during our next meetup. It's going to be held on the 11th of June, so the second Thursday of June. And it's going to be devoted totally to Ionic. So if you're interested in writing your mobile apps in Ionic, call me, write to me, please. We have 2 presentations scheduled already, but there's always room to fit some more. So I encourage you to think twice before you say, no, I'm not going to tell you anything about it. I bet that some of you have loads of experience with Ionic and could share it with the community. I would appreciate it a lot, and I guess that all people would. So, to sum up, the 11th, Ionic, call me.
Maybe.
So it's everything for now, but we are, of course, allowed to stay here, to chat, to talk to people who gave their presentation, so to Krzysztof, to Piotr, and to Michał. Don't be afraid to do it. We are here to do it, as a matter of fact. So thank you very much for being here and for contributing, and hope to see you next month.